Shalom, all praises to Yahweh, Hashem, Yoshai, Hashem, Harakah, Kadash. Double honors unto the elder apostles of great millstone all well. And shalom to the whole full elect. This is Paya Allah. This is news and prophecy, prophecy and news update. The date today is the 18th of August, 2024. The whole full year, Jacob's trouble. I got this article I want to delve into and basically show that the MOTB, the immutable rice grain, is rapidly approaching, right, as well as in conjunction with multiple other prophecies that in the moment they take place, it will basically show that, we're in that time, man. And that, Jacob's trouble, the hour of temptation draweth nigh, and then salvation ultimately is around the corner. So in that time. So this is from bbc.co.uk. The headline reads, Jailed rioters may trigger prison overcrowding plan. All right. So it says an emergency plan to avoid prison overcrowding could be triggered if in coming days, as more rioters are sentenced. The Prison Officers Association has said Operation Early Dawn, a contingency that allows defendants waiting for court appearance to be kept in police cells until prison space is available, could be used. The government announced quick sentencing for those involved in riots that followed the fatal stabbing of three girls in Southport, leading to hundreds appearing in courts across the UK. But the POA's national chairman told BBC Radio 4's Broadcasting House program this risk this risked excuse me this risk risked clogging up prison cells. Speaking on Sunday, Mark Fairhurst said he would not be surprised if the Ministry of Justice at some point on Monday morning announced that Operation Early Dawn kicks into play at some point next week. A Ministry of Justice spokesperson told the BBC it would update on operational decisions in a normal way, adding that the government would always make sure we have prison places we need, but keeping defendants waiting for a court appearance in police cells unless it is confirmed there is a prison bed available for them could delay court dates. Mr. Fairhurst warned that this had a massive knock-on effect on the entire justice system, as police cells got clogged up, meaning officers had not got the power to arrest not got the power to arrest people and put them away. He said last week had seen 397 new receptions, the biggest influx he had seen for some time, and that on Friday the adult male closed estate only had 340 spaces left. Pressure on the prison system is really, really tight. He warned adding offenders could be sent hundreds of miles from home to serve a sentence in prison with spaces. Justice Secretary Shabana Mahmood announced plans to cut the proportion of the sentence inmates must serve behind bars from 50% to 40%. So they're going to shorten their times due to that. The temporary move, which does not apply to those convicted of sex offences, terrorism, domestic abuse, or some violent offences, is expected to result in 5,500 offenders being released in September and October. Last week, the government confirmed those involved in recent unrest would not be excluded from its plans to release some inmates from jail early. So these people, there you go. These people that were involved in these riots, if they don't fall into that bracket, which quite a few of them would do. Excuse me. Sorry about that. So yeah, which a few of them won't. They're basically they won't have to do a full bird. They won't have to sit down for the full amount of time. They'll be out before you know it. All right. Even though they got sentenced speedily, they'll be turned loose, so to speak. Last week, the government confirmed that those are redone. On Sunday, Cleveland police said two women aged 24 and 52 had been charged with violent disorder, and Merseyside police said the 47-year-old man had been charged with the same offence. MPs have already approved the laws allowing the plan to be put into action, and any changes could require updating the legislation in a short space of time if additional exemptions are to be included. Operation Early Dawn was previously triggered by the Conservative government in May in the bid to tackle overcrowding in jails. Now, reason why I just steamrolled through this article is because more or less you can see there's a plan, alright, and it's gonna, turn loose a lot of people that have been convicted for certain crimes that don't fall into a certain category. Alright, which really even now with there's another, I may go into it at a later point, but there's actually talk of mm, okay, you got that one. Oh, the crackdown on hateful beliefs. Okay. So this is more of the thing that, as far as where they're focusing their energy on. All right. So anyone that has quote unquote extremist views, they're going to be bundled in jail, and even things like that are deemed misogynistic. All right. Online in certain comments, you're basically at risk of being bundled into the jails. All right. But as I said, so this is but with all this being said, these different things. All right, we can take it back to a couple years ago, 2008. This article is from. All right, let me hide the reader 1 second. Yeah, this is from the 13th of January 2008. All right, it basically says prisoners to be chipped like dogs. All right, so it says ministers are planning to implant machine-readable microchips under the skin of thousands of offenders as part of an expansion of the electronic tagging scheme that would create more space in British jails. Amid concerns at the security of existing tagging systems and prison overcrowding, the Ministry of Justice is investigating the use of satellite and radio wave technology to monitor um, um, criminals. But instead of being contained in bracelets worn on the ankle, tiny chips would be surgically inserted under the skin of offenders in the community to help enforce home curfews, the radio frequency identification tags. As long as 2 grains of rice are able to carry scannable personal information about individuals, including their identities, address, and offending record. All right. The tag label spy chips by privacy campaigners are already used around the world to keep track of dogs, cats, cattle, and airport luggage. But there's no record of the technology being used to monitor offenders in the community. The chips are also being considered as a help method of helping to keep the order within prisons. Now, as you can see, this is going what 15 years ago, just shy of or 16 years ago. This article, how old this article is. Now we can tell there's been leaps and bounds as far as this MOTB technology being a lot more, um, a lot more better received as far as being implanted into human beings. All right, as it's saying that as the time has gone on, the agenda has been moved step by step through the use of gradualism. All right. So these things are coming closer and closer, and this may be the solution that's on offer, depending on the events that unfold. All right, we're always one catastrophe away from the chip really being implemented. So I think I see something else here. Um, hmm, okay, so it says, we have wanted to take advantage of this technology for several years. So this is something that's been years in the waiting, going back 2008. All right, so what's to say it isn't years in the waiting in 2024? All right, it is. That's this is one of the means of establishing the MOTB that they're waiting. They've got on layaway for the right moment to unleash upon the masses. So it says, because it seems a sensible solution to the problems we are facing in this area. A senior minister said last night, we have looked at it and gone back to it and worried about the principalities, also the practicalities and the ethics. But when you look at the challenges facing the criminal justice system, its time has come. Now, this is talk again, 16 years ago. Now, when we're dealing with people rioting for no, all again, I can't stress enough. All it takes is a right event to unfold for these things to come into play. All right, and mind you, these things are happening in the UK. All right, but it sets the precedent as far as what's going to happen in the United States. It all these because remember, this is America as a whore that sits upon the beast. They're in one mind. So if the whore is it, UK can't be doing these things without America being at one with it. All right. And if you see something going on over there, it's coming to the shores of America. All right. So this sets that it's gonna basically be something widespread. We've wanted to take advantage of this technology. The government has been forced to review sentencing policy amid serious overcrowding in nation's jails after the prison population soared from 60,000 in 1997 to 80,000 today, around 11 years later, 2008. The crisis meant the number of prisoners held in police cells rose 13-fold last year, with police stations housing offenders more than 60,000 times in 2007, up from 4,617 the previous year. The UK has the highest prison population per capita in Western Europe, and the government is planning for an extra 20,000 spaces at a cost of 3.8 billion, including three gigantic new super jails in the next 6 years. All right, so they've been making amends. I could do the research as far as where they are and whatnot, and if this come to pass, but that's for another moment, another time. Um, so yeah, it basically says there's been a lot of breaches, curfew, people not doing the things they're meant to be doing. So when you really look at these things, um, it just gives you more of a task force to be put in place to make sure there's an infrastructure that can be set up around this, all right, and new laws that can be established. But what they need is like this event that even happened with the rioters and these people, a lot of them being turned loose again, could, if there's another form of riot or whatever, they've been galvanized. Like they've been, to do it again, to say, okay, as long as I don't do this, that, and the other, they're gonna turn me loose because there's no space. I'm not serious with it. So it's gonna, galvanize the people to keep doing it and doing it and doing it. And maybe step, cross the line into, be more emboldened in their actions. All right. So it says, so yeah, that's really it, man. It speaks about the chick and these different things. I may get into this another date because I've got more information. But the scriptures, man, Revelations, whatnot. Um, but let me read a couple. precepts just for the sake of your edification. So that's the book of Second Corinthians 2 and 11. Lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. Right. This is one of his key devices, the RFID chip. All right. And the means as far as how he executes it is going to be very subtle in his means of doing it. All right. Because this man, Esau Edom, his 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 um his 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 character, all right, is well established as far as how he works. All right, this man is the incarnation of Cain, okay, the wicked one being reincarnated. All right, and also the serpent in the garden. And the serpent, as it says in Genesis, was more subtle than any beast. All right, his thing is guile, deceit, wickedness. All right, and it's about um beguiling you to do something that is against the will of the Heavenly Father. So let's read this. It's the book of Genesis 25 and 25. This is talking about the birth of the forefather, our forefather Jacob, of the so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans, and all of the children of Israel scattered all over the earth. And Esau Edom, being a so-called white man as he's known today, and all these seeds scattered all over the earth, including in in our nation, all right, whether it be so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, there's some walking amongst us that aren't Israelites, all right, because they're tares. But then likewise, you got some um, Israelites within the midst of so-called white people, Indians, Chinese, etc., that are the children of Israel. So it says in verse 20, Genesis 25:25, and the first came out red all over like a hairy garment, and they called his name Esau, Shashua, which means wasted away is he. And after that after that came his brother out, and his hand took hold of Esau's heel. All right, so it tells you that Esau came out red all over, being a so-called white man. All right, a lack of pigmentation. But there's a reason why there's no mention of Jacob, because he came out as most people did in that time, which was people of color, whether it be, high yellow or, black as night. All right, wherever his complexion was, he came out as such. All right, and his name was called Jacob, and Isaac was 80 old, and when she bare him. Now this is the point. And the boys grew, and Esau was a cunning hunter, a man of the field, and Jacob was a plain man dwelling in tents. All right, so this man is cunning. Right? He's very cunning, and he does fit. And a hunter, if you hunt for deer or you hunt for any form of beast, there's a skill to it. All right, and it usually deals with entrapment, snares, right, being laid privily. And this is what this man is all about on a spiritual level. All right, so let's close out with this. There was another scripture I was going to get, but someone come to mind. Isaiah 30 and 1. Woe to the rebellious children, saith the Lord Jehovah, that take counsel, but not of me, and that cover with a covering, but not of my spirit, that they may add sin to sin, that walk to go down into Egypt, and have not asked at my mouth, to strengthen themselves in the strength of Pharaoh, and to trust in the shadow of Egypt. Therefore shall the strength of Pharaoh be your shame, and the trust in the shadow of Egypt your confusion. So only if you take hold of those devices, all right, and you are beguiled or cunningly deceived by this man, then it will be your shame ultimately. So with that, I pray you're edified to the next one. Say shalom. Shalom.